Before reciting this Srimad Bhagavatam, which is very deep and complex, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead Narayana, unto Narayana Rishi, the supreme student being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto the God's regular attendance in classes of Bhagavatam, and regular service to devotion, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, his praise of transcendental songs is established as irrevocable. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you all for being here. It's my great fortune and pleasure to speak in Srimad Bhagavatam. As we did on Monday, the example was there given by Srila Prabhupada that on the same throne you can have a king and have a bug. So we're back at it again. I'm the bug, sitting here with a good friend, teacher.
Two bugs.
So, as promised,
The beetle.
So this section of the Srimad Bhagavatam particularly is one that I'm studying myself, and so I see that the seniors that are here can kind of help me out, and we can all learn together. So we're picking up on text 21. No, that's the focus for starting.
Text 21.
So 21 till?
I think 35.
To 35. Okay. So before we start reading, I just wanted to hear a little bit about if we can zoom out, right? Because there's a conversation within a conversation within a conversation. Who can tell me whether?
You say which chapter it is?
Oh yes.
Second canto, 5th chapter.
Second canto. Nice. So if who would like to share right now the kind of the where we're at right now, the conversation, and how we got there. Yes, Susan.
If I'm not wrong, is it Shukadeva Goswami speaking? Because Parikshit Maharaj had asked the question at the end of the first section, but at the beginning of the second, Shukadeva Goswami begins to reply. And I don't know if the speakers have changed so far. I don't think so. So Shukadeva Goswami, right?
Okay, great. Yeah, thank you. So, so it starts with Caesar says Ramesharanya, right? Asks questions to Sukha Goswami and said, "Oh wow, these are great questions. I've heard these questions elsewhere, right?" It tells the story of how by his telling of the story, he answers those questions, right? And then so, Parikshit Maharaj in the story in the part where Parikshit Maharaj is speaking to Sukadeva Goswami, he asks him some questions, right? And then he's also going to reply by sharing another conversation where those same questions were asked and then asked. Lord Brahma and Narayana, yes. So the last that we were here on Monday, it was Sukadeva Goswami getting ready to answer the question of Parikshit Maharaj, so he was glorifying the Lord, offering his obeisances, and now he's going to go into telling the conversation of Lord Brahma and Narayana. So at this point, he's already answering he's already telling the story. So Narayana has asked the questions to Lord Brahma, and Lord Brahma is answering. So we can start reading the translations just those little.
Should I start?
6 minutes. Very cool.
The Lord, who is the controller of all energy, thus creates, by his own potency, eternal time, the fate of all living entities, and their particular nature, for which they were created, and he again merges them independently.
Does anybody remember what the questions of Krishna Maharaj were to Sukadeva Goswami?
Maybe something along the lines of these describe Krishna's external potencies.
Yeah, yeah. I'm going to share.
What is the purpose? I don't know the word. Purpose to or that or it's going to
Yeah, what is the duty of a dying mother? And so, you guys remember what the questions by Narada were? So they're Brahma. He's going to
he asks Brahma that although you seem to be the source of everything, alone by your power creates everything, but we're forced to think that maybe there's someone higher than you because you're always meditating. So could you basically enlighten us on who that is?
yeah, so. I guess words. After the incarnation of the first version, Arna Vashaish, the Mahatattva, or the principles of every creature take place. And then time is manifested, and of course, of time, the three qualities. Nature means the three qualitative that transform.
Material activities are caused by the Mahatattva's agitated. At first, there is transformation of the modes of goodness and passion. Later, due to the mode of ignorance, matter, its knowledge, and different activities of material knowledge come into play.
Self-centered, materialistic, thus being transformed, creatures becomes known as the modes of goodness, passion, and in these three divisions, namely the powers that evolve matter, knowledge of material creations, and intelligence that guide such materialistic activity. Narada, you are quite competent to understand it.
From the darkness of false ego, the first of the five elements, namely sky, is generated. Its subtle form as the quality of sound, exactly as fear is in a relationship.
Because the sky is transformed, the air is generated with the quality of thoughts, and by previous succession, the air is also full of sound, and the basic principle of duration of life, sense, perception, mental power, and bodily strength. When the air is transformed in course of time and nature's course, fire is generated, taking shape with the sense of touch and sound. Since fire is also transformed, there is manifestation of water, full of juice and taste. As previously, it also has form and thoughts and is also full of sound and water being transformed from all variegatedness on earth appears orders and as previously becomes qualitatively full of juice, thoughts, sound and form respectively.
From the mode of goodness, the mind is generated outside. Also, the 10 demigods controlling the body. Such demigods are known as the controller of directions, the controller of air, the sun god, the father of Daksha Prajapati, the Ashwini Kumars, the fire god, the king of heaven, worshipable, the chief of the Advaitas of Brahmaji, the Prajapati, all come into existence.
For the transformation of the mode of passion, sense organs like
hair, skin, nose, eyes, tongue, mouth, hand, strength of legs, and other outlets for measuring together intelligence and within are ordered.
Oh, Narada, best of the transcendentalists, the forms of the body cannot take place as long as these created parts, namely the elements, senses, mind, and modes of nature are not assembled.
Thus, when all this becomes assembled by force of the energy of the body, this universe certainly can, accepting both the primary bodies.
Thus, all the universes remains thousands of eons within the water, the causal ocean, and the Lord of living beings entering in each of them cause them to be fully animated.
The Lord Mahavishnu, although lying in the causal ocean, came out of it and dividing himself as Hiranyagarbha. He entered into each universe and assumed the Virat Rupa with thousands of legs, arms, mouths, heads, etc.
Kalam karma svabham so asvaya Pradhi Shaya Pratam Surpadade Svabhavam so ayasvaya Shaya Pratam Surpadade Svabhavam so ayasvaya Shaya Pratam Surpadade
Kalam karma svabhavamcha. Saya prapta. Surpadade.
Kalam karma svabhavamcha. Kalam karma svabhavam cha. Ayesho maya swaya. Atmanya drichaya praptam. Shurpadade.
Those synonyms word by word.
We'll do it with
All together.
Isha, the controller. Maya, abiding. Swaya, absorbing. Sagrata, independent. Green body merged him. Devavushu appearing differently. Upadade, accepted for being created again.
the
Lord was the controller of all energies, thus creates by his own potency, eternal time, fate of all living entities, and a particular nature for which they are created.
Purport. The creation of the material world, wherein the conditioned souls are allowed to act subordinately by the Supreme Lord, takes place again and again after annihilation. The material creation is something like a cloud in the unlimited sky. The real sky is the spiritual sky, eternally filled with the rays of the Brahma, and a portion of this unlimited sky is covered by the Mahatattva, cloud of the material creation, in which the conditioned souls, who want to lord it against the will of the Lord, are put into play as they desire, under the control of the Lord by agency of his external energy. As the rainy season appears and disappears regularly, the creation takes place and is again annihilated under the control of the Lord, as confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita. So the creation and annihilation of the material world is a regular action of the Lord, just to allow the conditioned souls to play as they like, and thereby create their own fate of being differently created again in terms of their independent desires at the time of annihilation. The creation, therefore, takes place at a historical date, as we are accustomed to think of everything which has a beginning in our tiny experience. The process of creation and annihilation is called anadi, or without reference to date, regarding the time the creation first took place, because the duration of even a partial creation is 8,640,000,000 years. The law of creation is, however, as mentioned in the Vedic literatures, that it is created at certain intervals and is again annihilated by the will of the Lord. The whole material or even the spiritual creation is a manifestation of the energy of the Lord, just as the light and heat of a fire are different manifestations of the fire's energy. The Lord therefore exists in his personal form by such expansion of energy, and the complete recreation rests on his impersonal feature. Nonetheless, he keeps himself distinct from such creation as the Purna, or complete. And so no one should wrongly think that his personal feature is non-existent due to his impersonal unlimited expansions. The impersonal expansion is a manifestation of his energy, and he is always in his personal feature despite his innumerable unlimited expansions of impersonal energies. For human intelligence, it is very difficult to conceive how the whole creation rests on his expansion of energy. But the Lord has given a very good example in the Bhagavad Gita. It is said that although the air and the atoms rest within the huge expansion of the sky, which is like the resting reservoir of every materially created, still the sky remains separate and unaffected. Similarly, although the Supreme Lord maintains everything created by his expansion of energy, he always remains separate. This is accepted even by Acharya, the great devotee of the impersonal form of the Absolute. I thought there was a break in this report. Okay, someone else asked it. He says Narayana Paravyakta, or Narayana exists separately, apart from the impersonal creative energy. The whole creation thus emerges within the body of transcendental Narayan at the time of annihilation, and creation emanates from his body again, with the same unchanging categories of fate and individual nature. The individual living entities, being parts and parcels of the Lord, are sometimes described as Atma, qualitatively one in spiritual constitution. But because such living entities are apt to be attracted to the material creation, actively and subjectively, they are therefore different from the Lord.
For reading that nice one. So, there's a few things that come up here in this report. One of them, I guess, where we can start before we go and go a little bit unpack a little bit more what's there, is our position to the Lord, right? So we're understanding, or we're hearing from Lord Brahma what his position relationship to the Lord is, wants to speak of us, but from us much greater. So we can start by Krishna is big, right? And we are small. Right, so we start there. Krishna is very big, we are small. He's supreme, he's unlimited, and we are limited. Right? So that's just understanding our category in relationship to Krishna very quickly, very brief. Right? And so because we're very small, we and limited, we are subject to fall under illusion, right? Which is one of the things that that Lord Muni tells Lord Brahma, you know, you become bewildered and think that you are the supreme, right? But yeah, like Sundar was saying, you take austerities and your meditation. So can you tell us, is there someone greater than you? Is there somebody who's inspiring you? Inspiration is the word that's used by Lord Brahma, right? That he's inspired to then create, right? So we're going to illustrate here in just a moment a little bit of what is Brahma Jyoti and Mahatattva and or material creation. It's like we'll speak a little bit about how it comes to be before we get there. So why is there a Mahat? Question for everybody. Why is there a material creation? Can you use a mic, please, so they can hear you?
No? Yeah. So, Hare Krishna. I think to cleanses our things what we done in the previous generations, or what are the things we done in previous birth of bad things, to cleanses and be a pure soul. That's what I'm thinking. That's why material body is created, so that you can achieve cleanliness and go reach the moksha to the God.
Okay, thank you. So it's here for purification. Okay. Right here, sir.
I don't know if we got it that well from what I remember. It's like where the Mahia comes self-realized and then it's a circus to Vishnu.
Okay, so he created. Why is he created? Yeah. Yeah. He, anyway, what's this?
So my understanding is that, Krishna has created all of these different entities so that he can experience love with them. But in order to experience love, there needs to be free will. So the entity actually has to give that love freely, because otherwise it's not love. And so, because of the fact that we have free will, sometimes what we do is keep an envy to Krishna. And in that envy, he's so benevolent, he's so merciful, he's so kind, that he's like, he's like, oh, you want to experience what it's like to be me? All right, cool, you can go to this place. And so the Mahat Tattva is there to allow the entity to actually fulfill this desire of being like Krishna.
Okay. Thank you for sharing.
That was is that we want to carry up on Krishna, so when so we can try to
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, that Krishna, this Mahatattva, this material creation is made for us to try to enjoy something, like the word envy was mentioned. Meaning that we want to enjoy separate from Him. We want to enjoy ourselves and not consider. But we hear earlier in the Srimad Bhagavatam that anything that is not in relation to Krishna is completely useless. Right? So that's why we go to the very beginning of understanding what our relationship to Krishna is. He's big, we're small, and we are servants of Krishna. Right? So what we want to do is we want to, in every situation, no matter how difficult or how even material it may seem, because the material energy comes from Krishna, has the potential to be spiritualized. Right? So we just have to see even what seems to be material, how is it in connection with Krishna? That will bring about an ability to connect and be on the same wavelength spiritually with Krishna. Everything that we do, this table, this microphone, it could be used for absolutely anything, but when it's used in the service of Krishna, it's spiritualized. It's a pure material. So what we don't do is just reject anything that isn't that doesn't have to do with the temple, right? There's many ways that we can serve Krishna. Actually, there's just 4 ways in which we can serve Krishna. Do you guys know what those 4 ways are?
Deity worship.
We don't serve Krishna with deity worship.
Was that?
Oh,
you don't?
Yeah,
Oh,
I
okay.
can't. Yeah, no, we can't.
We cannot.
Yeah, what are the 4 ways that we cannot serve Krishna?
Not be.
Intoxication, illicit sex, me eating, gambling.
Yeah, so then the 3 other ways we can serve Krishna. So except these things, except these these 4 things.
I would have like this offending Vaishnavas.
Yeah, it could be a way to not serve Krishna, or maybe Krishna be using you as an instrument to.
Oh yeah.
That makes sense. How Bhaktivedanta Maharaj talks about how offending Vaishnava is not a way to serve Radharani. So forget about Krishna.
Yeah, actually, a friend of mine, his name is Acharya, he said that aparad means up means without radha, right? Aparad against radha. So aparad means against radha. So we just want to not go against her. She's the one that's going to give us access. I saw this viral meme that is going around. It's of this little kangaroo. I don't know if you guys have seen it. It's holding a plane ticket, and the lady at the gate is not allowing the kangaroo in, and then somebody's like, then a woman is like saying like, let him in, and he's just there like holding a plane ticket. So then the devotees kind of switched it up and they said, the kangaroo is me holding all my pure bhakti and all my fancies and everything. The white lady kind of like doing the whole Karen thing. He's like, oh, this is Radharani trying to convince Krishna to let him. And then Krishna, and then the lady at the gate is Krishna saying, look at all his offenses. Yeah. This is so beautiful. So I just wanted to, now that we have the illustration, I wanted to talk about a little bit and illustrate what this purport is telling us, right? So in the very beginning of the purport, right, it says the creation of the material world where the conditioned souls are allowed to act subordinately by the Supreme Lord. So like Presence has said, why is this world here? So that we can act, what is it? So we can act subordinately by the Supreme Lord. So why is this here? For us to try to enjoy, right? So there's a spiritual sky, there's a sky that we have right here. I'm going to go over and illustrate now. This sky that you see here, beyond this sky, there's another sky called the spiritual sky of the Brahmajyoti. So this Brahmajyoti are these rays coming from the body of the Lord, right? Here, right in here, so all of this is the spiritual sky, and it's so big. And somewhere in the spiritual sky, there's this little tiny cloud, right? Little tiny cloud in this vast spiritual sky, right? So now we're gonna zoom kind of into it, right? So in this tiny cloud is us, right? It's like this is just the circle of the soul, right? So in here, the Lord actually gives Lord Brahma all the ingredients so that he can create, right? So he is the original creator, and then Lord Brahma is the sub-creator, the second creator, right? So I'm sorry. So we also have the ability to, we say we're creators, right? Srila Prabhupada has described that actually we can't create anything. We can't create a seed. We can't create life, right? All that we do is we manipulate matter that's already been given there. So one may be under the illusion that I create the guitar, right? But is he really creating, or is he just manipulating wood from the tree that Krishna has put there, right? So this is kind of what we're looking at. And so Krishna, as we read in the verses before, can we scroll back to the translation? He talks about the elements that Lord Brahma talks about the elements that are there, the three modes, fire, earth, air, all of that is time, all of that is put there by Krishna, right? And then Lord Brahma comes in and puts it all together. So Lord Brahma is the sub-creator. So the example that I recently heard from a devotee that's going to speak in Baltimore, she said, we are like, Lord Brahma is like a cook, right? A cook makes an amazing subject, but in order to make an amazing subject, what does he need? He needs the potatoes, he needs the broccoli, all the spices and everything else, right? So that we can understand the position of Lord Brahma to Lord Krishna, right? So Lord Brahma is, let's say this is us, right? And let's say this is Lord Brahma, right? Right? But in comparison to Krishna, he's still small, right? In comparison to us, he's very big, right? So this is what is going to help us to get an idea of where we are in relation to the spiritual world. So I just wanted to, this is what I did, this is what, sorry, see, I'm very small at drawing, and then I did this and this week, we were able to, oh, nice honeybees. So in this way, we can see like what the Mahatattva is and where we are. Just very simply, because my knowledge is very limited, especially on these technical points, and maybe Papa Priya or like to share more. I just wanted to illustrate what Lord Brahma is telling Narmuni. Like I actually, this Lord Brahma is making obeisances to Lord Krishna before even answering for many verses. Right? Like this inspiration is coming from Lord Krishna. And not only is the inspiration coming from him, but also all the ingredients. Right? Everything comes from him. So yeah, sorry for the drawing, but that was very good. That's what I wanted to share a little bit about this verse that's talking about the Mahatma.
So are you saying we are in the spiritual world? Because that cloud is quite close to Krishna.
Yes, sir. Yeah, we are in the spiritual world. We're just covered over with that cloud. Right? So what is the process of removing that cloud that is blocking us from understanding where we are? Yeah.
My Guru Maharaj always says our distance with the Lord is not physical, but is our consciousness.
Yeah, can you share a little bit?
We should get rid of all the coverings of our consciousness is covered because we identify ourselves with the body and material world around us. And as soon as we understand that our identity or real identity is the servant of Krishna, then the covering is done. We know it by theory, but not deeply.
Thank you. There's an example of that in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Spoiler alert. This one amazing devotee named Vidura. He lives with Dhritarashtra and Duryodhana. Do you guys know who that is? Dhritarashtra and Duryodhana? Does anybody not know who that is? Okay, so he's a very amazing pure soul, and he's actually offended by Duryodhana. He just before the battle of Kurukshetra happens, he decides, okay, I've been offended, I'm gonna go. He just goes on pilgrimage. It's described that he's a pure devotee. However, he goes on pilgrimage because he understands that the association that he's had is not very good, so he goes to be purified. So even though Krishna is there because he has lost some of his past credits because of association, he goes on purpose to recharge, like some devotees say. This is what the Bhagavatam says. And so what happens with Vidura is he goes on pilgrimage and then he meets another pure devotee of Krishna, the guy with the Yamuna, and his name is Uddhava. Right? And Uddhava is this really exalted soul, just absorbed in thoughts of Krishna. And so Vidura asks him about Krishna. And does anybody know or remember, ever heard of Uddhava's reaction when he's asked about Krishna?
He like goes into trance, like into somebody starts to show all the exciting
And do you remember like how Srimad Bhagavatam describes like him coming out of that samadhi? Anybody? It's really beautiful. So the Srimad Bhagavatam says when Uddhava was asked, he just he became absorbed about Krishna and he was just stunned. It's described 48 minutes. Just stunned. And Vidura was just there standing, like kind of waiting for an answer. You could see what was happening. And then he comes back into consciousness, and Srimad Bhagavatam says, and he returns to the material world from from the spiritual world, right? So, but he was there, like you were saying, Surya, he was in front of them, but in consciousness, he was gone. He was elsewhere. So, to come back to Peter Group's questions, are we in the spiritual world? If our consciousness is there, we are, right? And with this little brief pastime of Vidura that we just shared, and Uddhava that we just shared, what is it that triggers us to go back into the spiritual world?
It is said that only devotional service, only by means of devotional service, we provide that.
Okay, and in this pastime, which one of the 9 different processes of devotional service did just happen that brought Uddhava back into the spiritual world? Yes, remembrance, right? And we also see that with Arjuna. Earlier on, Arjuna goes into Dwarka when Krishna's leaving, and he's just destroyed. Like, I couldn't even hold off these simple village men. The Gandiva bow with all the glories, like I'm the best archer, but Krishna has left, and now I have no strength, all my power is just borrowed, I have nothing, and then he was just depressed again. Like, I think depression runs in his family, right? Because also Mother Kunti, right? She's also of course. So it's just like something that runs in that relation. But then what happens is that he says, "Oh my gosh!" And then he starts remembering the lessons that he was taught on the battlefield by Krishna. And then the way that section ends is, "I'm completely relieved by the remembrance." It's like as if he's here right now. It's not different, right? So this learning of the Mahatma, learning of our position, learning of our relationship with Krishna, what does it do? It keeps us in that place where we're relieved of everything that's around us right now. That cloud that is fogging us, the remembrance of Krishna is able to relieve all that. Right? So that's just something I wanted to share. With this session.
Yeah, when I look at beautiful tiny clouds, I remember this is the world of light and the shadows. Krishna is so illuminating. So what would make somebody come into the shadow when we turn away? Right? So as Acharya mentions, Krishna Surya Sama Maya Haya Andakar Yaham Krishna Daham Maya Adhikar. It says Krishna is compared to the sunshine. very illuminating. Everything actually. Chintamani, Chintamani is made of true consciousness, so everything is spiritual, self-illuminating. Does not require sun anymore. So everything is self-illuminating. So, and Maya is compared to darkness. Wherever there is sunshine, there cannot be darkness. As soon as one takes Krishna consciousness, darkness of illusion, influence, external energy, will immediately vanish. So, yeah, so close. We're so close. But yet, if we turn away and a little teeny, beautiful cloud. But again, the moment we turn towards Krishna is illustrated by beautiful examples. Krishna Smaranam, Krishna Vandanam, Krishna Kirtanam. Immediately, that's us receiving the rays of illumination that reflect in our heart. And will be cool to open more. Like the lotus flower, it only opens influence of moon rays, the light, our heart also responds, light of Krishna. And the creation will be here, of vastness, and we heard yesterday about Abhiram Prabhu, the vastness of the universe, the vastness, and the teeniness of us in comparison is there to kind of stimulate stimulate the process of being chosen Krishna only. Because it is terrifying to look and to imagine the insignificance, terrifying fragility of our existence in the material world. It's definitely a stimuli. Krishna, if you think about it, but the illusion makes you forget. So, what is it that the great emperors, ancient times, that person with them, minister were always whispering to their ear.
Advisor?
Trying to remember the Latin. Remember that. Remember that. So don't get carried away. Don't get carried away in your plans in this. Remember everything. Remember the Latin.
I'm trying to remember.
And it doesn't
Memento mori.
Memento mori.
Yeah,
Ah.
Mori. Harry gets points this morning. Memento mori. So creation is beautiful, but it's temporary. And it's
Thank you, that reminds me of, do we have 1 more minute next question? Or how much time do we have?
Like
5 minutes, okay, so I'll show one more thing. I remember when I first came to the ashram some years back, maybe not when I first came over, I met like with Acharya. Yeah, I had just made a decision to take my spiritual life serious, just like the deep past. And, yeah, it was amazing actually. One thing that Acharya told on my very first day here, I think, not the second, was that to help me remain strong in my determination was that your desires are like a shadow. Never catch a shadow. It doesn't matter how fast you can. It doesn't matter how long your arms are. You can't catch the shadow, right? You can go around life chasing the shadow. Just chasing and never catching it. All you have to do is turn towards the sun. When you turn towards the light, what happens to the shadow?
Don't just turn, but run towards the light.
But what happens is the shadow starts to chase you. All your desires just align with you walking towards the sun. So, brought up that example again. Sparked the remembrance in my heart. Yeah. Anyway, I'd like to open it up. Thank you very much. Anybody have thoughts or questions? Yes, perfectly.
Yeah, what struck me here in the purport is the word anadi is mentioned, which means without beginning. So this word anadi is sometimes used to, and there's another verse that says that our karma is anadi, without beginning. And so, some people argue that that means that we've been here in the material world forever, or material entanglement. It's without beginning. In other words, it's not that we were in the spiritual world pure and then we fell down and we started getting karma at some historical point. And then, but Prabhupada explains here the actual way that this word anadi is used, because he says the creation takes place at a historical date, as we're accustomed to think of everything, which is the beginning in our tiny experience. So he's saying that it takes place at a historical date, in other words, it has a beginning. And then next sentence he says, this process of creation and annihilation is called anadi. So he says, it has a date, has a beginning, but then he says it's called anadi because it's without reference to date regarding the time when it first took place, because it's so long ago. And then after saying that, then he says, even a partial creation is 8,640,000,000 years. So, yeah, that kind of verifies that what Prabhupada says again and again is that it did fall down from the material world, from the spiritual world, and there was a point in time, but it was so long ago that we can't trace it out. It comes this time immemorial, and that's the meaning of anadi, is that it's so long ago that we can't trace out. It doesn't literally mean that there's no beginning.
And that reminds me of this term, nityavada and nityasiddha.
Yeah.
Right? Because nitya is like, okay, if you're saying nityasiddha, then they're eternally liberated. If you're saying nityavada, then they're eternally conditioned. Right? So then eternal means there's no start at the beginning, but you kind of shed light on what this means, right? It's similar. This eternality is that you can't even trace it. It's so long ago. Right? And then when you're at the state of liberation, it's like, where's time, right? So it's like you just. Thank you for sharing. That's very. Anyone else? Okay. Oh, thanks. Last comment, yes.
Okay, just to continue on Prabhupada's comment, it reminds me that when we say nitya from the Lord's perspective, from the spiritual perspective, because everything is absolute in the spiritual sense. So when you're conditioned, that is an absolute state of your condition. Is that a right understanding? But that's just how it makes sense. And in that sense, you're also and Nitya, but actually we did go there at some point. Recorded material history, like it was the start. Does that make any sense? Sorry.
Depending on from what perspective you're looking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard, like on our journey, then at one point you realize you have to drive a long time. Just separated from that realization. There will come a time. With Krishna.
It's sorry. Yeah. It's described how when we go back to this spiritual world, it's like a blink of an eye that blinked. They're like, oh, that was a bad.
So I,
Blink in the eyes.
It's like my eyelids. Johnny.
I would never believe the dream I had last night.
Yeah, we're out of time. Maybe we can talk about breakfast.
John,
Yeah.